When you disrupt the system by simply existing, the system doesn't ignore you, it studies, stalks, and slowly spirals. Let's get one thing clear, you didn't ask for this attention, you didn't beg to be watched like a walking riddle in HD. You didn't sign up to be the main character in someone else's emotional drama. And yet, here we are, eyes on you, whispers behind you, fake laughs around you, followed by obsessive scrolling through you. Here's the unsettling truth. A recent study in social psychology revealed that people are more likely to become fixated on individuals who move outside of collective norms, not because they hate them, but because they can't decode them. It's not you they're obsessed with, it's what you represent, freedom, wholeness, audacity. And let's be honest, a bit of how the hell are they glowing without validation? And while their obsession might look like admiration, let's not flatter the devil. It's getting weird, it's getting loud, it's getting embarrassing. So who are you, really? You're one of the chosen. Not because of bloodline or birthright, but because you refuse to be average. You refuse to betray your truth just to be digestible, and now they can't. Look, away, buckle up. We're diving into the real reason their obsession isn't normal, and why your energy is out here giving people existential side effects with receipts and a little humor. Because honestly, if they're going to copy your whole personality, they might as well laugh while doing it. Let's go. Number 1, you're a walking mirror, and they're ashamed of their reflection. People aren't obsessed with you because they like you. Most of them don't even know you. What they're obsessed with is the way they feel when you're around. You don't even have to say a word. Your energy does all the talking, and what it says is confronting. Because whether you realize it or not, your presence holds up a mirror. And when they look at you, they don't just see you. They see what they're not, or worse, what they gave up on being. That's where the obsession starts. It's not about you being better. It's about you being real in a world where most people have learned to fake it just to get by. You walk into a room and suddenly their carefully built masks don't fit right anymore. You remind them of everything they buried just to be accepted, the dreams they called unrealistic, the integrity they traded for approval, the potential they slowly silenced over time. You're not showing off, you're just being, and that's enough to make them uncomfortable, so they keep watching, studying. Some copy you in bits and pieces, hoping to feel what you feel. Others try to tear you down, because if they can convince themselves you're fake, they won't have to face what they've abandoned in themselves. That's why some people will praise you in public and secretly root for your downfall in private. It's not hate, it's heartbreak, with a twisted mask on. They want to understand how you've done what they couldn't, how you've kept your soul intact while they had to sell theirs just to get through the week. And the scary part, they realized that it was never about talent, luck, or timing. It was a choice. You just chose differently. That's the part they can't unsee, and why they can't look away. Number 2, your authenticity breaks their scripted existence. Most people operate on a script. They've been taught how to think, how to act, what to want, and even how to fail, all within a system that rewards sameness. You, on the other hand, stepped off that conveyor belt. You stopped following the script, and that makes people uncomfortable. You're not rebellious on purpose, you're just real. But in a world that runs on fake smiles, forced small talk, and quiet desperation, your authenticity feels like a glitch in the system. When you don't play by the unspoken rules, you break their illusion of normal. You challenge what they've convinced themselves is just the way things are. They've spent years trying to fit in, to shrink themselves, to blend, and here you are, not asking for permission, not following the crowd, not dimming your light. That kind of self-possession doesn't go unnoticed. It makes people feel exposed, like if you're living differently, maybe they didn't have to settle, and that realization stings more than they want to admit. So they start watching. Not because they're fans, but because they're confused. You don't react like they do. You don't chase the same validation. You don't seem exhausted from pretending. You walk away from things they'd cling to just to feel secure. And the worst part, you don't fall apart when you do. That doesn't compute. In their world, control is safety. In yours, freedom is. That's why their obsession doesn't make sense on the surface. You're not rich by their definition. You're not loud. You're not even trying to be seen. But because you move with clarity, because you live outside the script, they treat you like a threat. You're proof that life can be lived differently. And once they see that, they can't unsee it. You didn't just stop playing the game, you made it irrelevant. That's why they stare. That's why they talk. And that's why the obsession is getting harder for them to hide. Number 3, they want access to the frequency, not the person. People aren't drawn to you because of how you look, what you wear, or even what you say. It's your energy. It's the way you carry yourself, the way you make others feel without trying. You could be sitting in silence and still shift the entire atmosphere in a room. That presence is rare and they feel it even if they can't explain it. It unsettles them because it's not something they can touch or steal. And that's what frustrates them most. What they really want is access to the feeling you give off. That quiet confidence, that calm self-assurance, that unshakable peace. You're grounded in who you are, and they want that for themselves. But instead of doing the inner work to reach that place, they try to shortcut it. They mimic your style, your mannerisms, your words. They want the glow without the growth. They want your essence without your evolution. But here's the thing. Energy can't be faked. You didn't get to this place by accident. You've battled with yourself, sat with your darkness, faced your fears, and rebuilt your mindset more times than anyone knows. That's what gives you depth. That's why people are magnetized to you, and no amount of copying can replicate that. What they're chasing isn't your vibe. It's the result of the work you've done when nobody was watching. That's why their obsession turns bitter over time, because no matter how closely they follow you, they can't feel what you feel. They realize that your peace isn't performative, it's earned. And that annoys them whether they admit it or not. They wanted it to be easy. They thought if they got close enough to you, some of it would rub off. But energy doesn't transfer through imitation. It flows through alignment. And without healing, without honesty, they'll keep reaching for something they can never fully hold. That's what keeps them stuck in the cycle, watching you, studying you, trying to figure out how you're so effortlessly you. Number 4, you're the archetype of who they could have been. People aren't drawn to you because of how you look, what you wear, or even what you say. It's your energy. It's the way you carry yourself, the way you make others feel without trying. You could be sitting in silence and still shift the entire atmosphere in a room. That presence is rare, and they feel it even if they can't explain it. It unsettles them because it's not something they can touch or steal. And that's what frustrates them most. What they really want is access to the feeling you give off. That quiet confidence, that calm self-assurance, that unshakable peace. You're grounded in who you are, and they want that for themselves. But instead of doing the inner work to reach that place, they try to shortcut it. They mimic your style, your mannerisms, your words. They want the glow without the growth. They want your essence without your evolution. But here's the thing. Energy can't be faked. You didn't get to this place by accident. You've battled with yourself, sat with your darkness, faced your fears, and rebuilt your mindset more times than anyone knows. That's what gives you depth. That's why people are magnetized to you, and no amount of copying can replicate that. What they're chasing isn't your vibe. It's the result of the work you've done when nobody was watching. That's why their obsession turns bitter over time, because no matter how closely they follow you, they can't feel what you feel. They realize that your peace isn't performative, it's earned. And that annoys them, whether they admit it or not. They wanted it to be easy. They thought if they got close enough to you, some of it would rub off. But energy doesn't transfer through imitation, it flows through alignment. And without healing, without honesty, they'll keep reaching for something they can never fully hold. That's what keeps them stuck in the cycle, watching you, studying you, trying to figure out how you're so effortlessly you. Number 5, they study you to reverse engineer your grace. They'll never admit it, but they're watching you like a science project. Every move you make is under silent analysis, the way you respond instead of react. The way you walk into a room without shrinking or performing. The way you speak with purpose, not volume. They take mental notes like it's going to give them the code. But what they're trying to replicate isn't technique. It's something much deeper. Your grace. Grace isn't something you can copy. It's not a posture, a tone, or a look. It's a byproduct of surviving things that should have broken you and choosing not to let it make you bitter. It's the softness you carry after chaos. The quiet confidence born from choosing peace over power plays. You didn't learn grace. You became it. That's what they don't get. They think if they match your behavior, they'll somehow download your energy, that if they mimic how you move through the world, they'll be treated like you are. But what they don't realize is that your presence is not performance. You're not graceful because you're trying to impress. You're graceful because you've made peace with who you are, even the parts no one clapped for. You've done the shadow work. You've sat in silence long enough to hear your own voice clearly. That's not something you can fake. So they copy your words, your aesthetic, your timing, and still feel empty. Because essence doesn't live in mimicry, it lives in alignment. You didn't become this version of yourself by studying someone else. You got here by studying yourself. That's the part they skip. That's why it doesn't stick. They're trying to reverse engineer something that was never built. It was forged through heartbreak, through silence, through self-honesty. And no matter how many times they try to act like you, they'll always come up short, because you're not a style, you're a frequency, and frequencies can't be faked. Number 6, they're desperate to discredit what they can't become. They don't just want to see you fail, they need you to. Because your very existence threatens the fragile narrative they've built around why they never became more. You didn't follow their rules, you didn't suck up, sell out, or bend to be accepted, and yet somehow you're still rising. That's a problem for them. Because if someone like you, who chose authenticity over approval, can make it, then what's their excuse? It's easier to believe that success only comes through connections, clout, or conformity, that you have to compromise your soul just to get a seat at the table, but you didn't. You built your own table, and now they're shaking. Not because you're winning, but because you're winning differently. Your path calls their bluff. It proves that the game they're playing isn't the only option. That truth feels like betrayal to them, so they nitpick. They wait. They hope, not just for a slip-up, but for a full-blown crash, because your downfall would be their relief. It would give them permission to believe their limitations are justified, that playing it safe was smart, that dimming their light was necessary. You shining is inconvenient to their story. That's why they twist your confidence into arrogance, your boundaries into coldness, your silence into guilt. If they can distort your character, they won't have to confront their own choices. They're not interested in facts. They're committed to finding flaws. Because if they can label you a fraud, they don't have to face the fact that you just had the courage they didn't. At the end of the day, it's not about you being perfect, it's about you being free. That's what they envy. And until they confront what's stopping them from becoming who they really are, they'll keep trying to tear down what they don't understand, not because you're wrong, but because you're right. And that's unbearable to them. Number 7, you're the unpaid therapist to their unhealed wounds. Without even realizing it, you've become the unofficial therapist for people who haven't done the work themselves. They unload their unresolved pain on you like it's your job to absorb it. You didn't ask for this role, and you certainly didn't sign up to be anyone's emotional punching bag, yet there they are, projecting their fears, insecurities, and disappointments onto you. When they get upset, it's easier to blame you than to face the chaos inside themselves. You become their fantasy when they imagine a version of themselves who's strong, confident, or free, all the things they want, but don't believe they can have. You embody what they secretly crave, so they build you up, sometimes unrealistically, like a hero or an idol. But when you don't fit that perfect image, they turn on you with frustration or resentment. They need you to be flawless, because admitting your humanity means acknowledging their own struggles. The truth is, you're not the trigger here, their unhealed wounds are. Their pain doesn't originate from anything you did or said, it comes from their own unresolved experiences, but instead of looking inward, they look outward and find a target. You become a mirror, showing them parts of themselves they don't want to see. The discomfort makes them lash out, criticize, or obsess over you, hoping to silence the voice inside that's telling them to heal. This dynamic is exhausting because you're expected to carry emotional baggage that isn't yours. And no matter how kind or patient you are, you can't fix what they refuse to face. The only way out for them and for you is for them to do their own work. Until then, you'll be the unwilling keeper of their shadows, the one they blame for the storm inside. But remember, their pain is theirs alone. You are not responsible for it, no matter how much they want you to be. Number 8, you're not popular, you're polarizing. You're not here to be everyone's favorite, and that's exactly what makes you powerful. Being popular means fitting in, following the unwritten rules, and smoothing out the rough edges so no one gets uncomfortable. You didn't come to play that game, you came to shake the table. Your energy, your ideas, your way of being cuts through the noise in a way that demands attention. but not always approval. And that's a problem for a lot of people because they're wired to seek validation, to feel safe in belonging. When you challenge norms or refuse to conform, people don't just disagree with you, they react emotionally. They call you arrogant, cocky, or too much because they can't handle someone thriving on their own terms without begging for permission. But here's the truth. What they label as arrogance is actually your self-respect. It's the confidence that comes from knowing your worth, even when it makes others uncomfortable. They want to fit you into their box, but you refuse to be contained. You don't just break molds, you destroy them. People confuse disruption with threat because they're scared of what it means for their own status. Your presence forces them to confront their own complacency and irrelevance. It's easier for them to attack you than to question their own choices. You don't threaten their comfort zone, you threaten their excuses. And that fear manifests as criticism and obsession. Being polarizing means you inspire strong feelings, love or hate, admiration or resentment. Neutrality doesn't exist with you, and that's because you don't aim to please, you aim to be real. The world is full of people who want to be liked, but few who are willing to be seen. You chose to be seen, flaws and all, and in doing so you remind everyone else of what they're missing, a chance to be unapologetically themselves. You're not popular because popularity is shallow and fleeting. You're polarizing because you're unforgettable. And that scares the status quo more than anything else. Number 9, they mock what they secretly want to be. The mocking, the gossip, the biting sarcasm, they're not just random acts of cruelty, they're shields, armor people wear to hide a deeper truth they're terrified to face. If they openly admired you, it would force them to admit something painful, that somewhere along the way they betrayed their own potential. They convinced themselves to settle, to play small, to dim their own light so they wouldn't feel the sting of failure or rejection. And seeing you live boldly, it's like a spotlight on their own compromises. So instead of admiration, they give you jokes and sneers. They twist your words and actions into punchlines because it's safer to laugh at you than to acknowledge what you represent. Behind every sarcastic comment is a whisper of envy. Behind every gossip session is a secret wish they had your courage. But admitting that would mean facing their own fears and disappointments, and most aren't ready for that kind of honesty. That's why their laughter rings hollow. They cry in silence over the versions of themselves they abandoned. They hold on to the hope that maybe someday, somehow, they'll find the strength to reclaim that greatness they once dreamed of. Your success, your confidence, your refusal to hide, it stirs something raw inside them, something both beautiful and painful. You're a reminder of what they once believed was possible. And that reminder is both inspiring and unbearable. So they mask it with mockery, hoping the act will protect them from the truth. They see you as what they could have been. And until they come to terms with that, their jokes will keep coming. A poor substitute for the courage they lack but secretly crave. Number 10, you've transcended groupthink, now you're a target. You didn't just step away from the crowd, you stepped out of the whole system that tried to define you. You refused to buy into the broken rules, the endless approval seeking, and the false sense of security that comes with blending in. That kind of independence isn't something most people understand because they're still trapped in those cages, hoping to find freedom within them. To them, your choice looks like rebellion. It's loud, disruptive, and impossible to ignore. But here's the catch, they don't actually hate you. What they feel runs much deeper. It's fear. Fear because you've seen what they haven't allowed themselves to admit, that their so-called freedom was an illusion. They've been following a script written by others, trying to fit into roles that never fit right, and pretending it's their choice. Meanwhile, you've ripped that script to shreds and started writing your own story. This realization terrifies them because it means their entire world, their identity, and their sense of safety are built on lies. You embody a truth they don't want to face, that freedom isn't about belonging to a group, a label, or a system. It's about knowing yourself so deeply that you don't need anyone's permission to exist or thrive. And that kind of freedom threatens to expose their own chains. So they make you a target. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your existence challenges the very foundation of their comfort zones. Attacking you is their way of trying to pull you back into the herd, to remind you that freedom comes at a cost they're not willing to pay. They want to trap you in their world so they don't have to confront the painful truth that they're still prisoners. You've transcended groupthink, and that makes you a threat, not to them, but to the system they cling to. And until they find the courage to break free themselves, they'll keep watching, judging, and trying to pull you down. But you're already beyond that. Number 11. Your peace exposes their chaos. You don't have to shout to be heard. Your peace speaks louder than any scream. When chaos swirls around you, you stand steady, unshaken. That calm isn't emptiness or avoidance. It's a force forged from resilience and deep self-mastery. You've learned how to hold space for yourself without needing to prove anything, and that kind of centeredness unnerves people who thrive on drama and distraction. They try to provoke you, push your buttons, stir the pot, but you don't bite. Instead of reacting, you respond with quiet strength. That refusal to engage on their chaotic level feels like a refusal to acknowledge their existence, and that terrifies them. Because for so long they've been the loudest voice in the room, the center of attention through noise and conflict. Your calm exposes the truth they hide from themselves. Underneath all the noise, there's nothing solid. Your presence reveals the fragility behind their masks. They realize that their constant agitation is a defense mechanism, a way to avoid facing the emptiness or pain they carry. But you, by contrast, have learned to sit with your discomfort, to breathe through the storms inside and out. That's why you can't be rattled. You've outgrown their frequency and they know it. In a way, your peace is an unspoken challenge. It shows them another way to exist, a way that doesn't require chaos to feel alive. And that realization unsettles them deeply. They might mock your quietness or call it indifference, but the truth is, they envy it. Because finding that kind of peace takes courage, self-awareness, and relentless commitment, things they're not ready to claim. So while they spiral and shout, you remain grounded. Your calm isn't just a refuge, it's a statement. You've stepped beyond the noise, and now they're the ones who feel erased. Number 12. They want to see you bleed because your strength is unrelatable. When you move through life with strength that seems unshakable, it throws people off balance. They watch you carry burdens, face setbacks, and still stand tall. And it makes them uncomfortable because it's a reflection of what they wish they could be. Their own struggles feel heavier in comparison. They want to see you falter, to catch a glimpse of your cracks, because that would make your resilience relatable, human, and most importantly, normal. If you show even a hint of weakness, it levels the playing field. Suddenly, you're no different from them. This craving isn't just curiosity. It's a harsh form of envy. They don't just want to witness your pain, they want to see you break under it. It's twisted, but it's real. When you remain unbroken, they feel like you've raised the bar to an impossible standard, one they can't reach and don't even know if it's fair to try. Your strength becomes a mirror reflecting their insecurities, their fears of inadequacy, and their own hidden wounds. It's easier for them to hope for your failure than to face the possibility that you're simply on a different level of self-mastery. Their desire to see you bleed is a way to reclaim a sense of balance. If you stumble, they get to breathe a little easier because it confirms that vulnerability is universal. They don't have to feel isolated in their pain. It's cruel, but it's human nature to seek comfort in shared imperfection. Yet your ability to endure with grace and composure unsettles that need. You unsettle the narrative that strength is fragile or fleeting. You aren't immune to pain, no one is. But your choice to rise again and again without showing your cracks like trophies threatens their worldview. And until they can embrace strength without jealousy or fear, they'll keep hoping for your collapse. But your resilience isn't just a shield, it's a revolution. It's proof that endurance isn't about never breaking. It's about how fiercely you choose to keep going. Number 13, they're not obsessed with you. They're addicted to the mystery of how you exist. They can't stop watching because you defy their expectations of what someone with your story should look like. You carry a history that would have crushed most people, yet you move through life with a calm confidence that feels almost unnatural to them. Your stability isn't flashy or loud. It's quiet, deep, and undeniable. It doesn't make sense to them how someone who's faced so much can be so composed, so grounded, so in tune with themselves. That contradiction sparks an obsession, a relentless curiosity that borders on addiction. They want to dissect every part of you, hoping to find the secret ingredient, the cheat code that makes your resilience seem effortless. But the truth is, there isn't one. You didn't stumble into this state of grace by accident. It's the result of long, unseen battles with yourself. Nights spent confronting your fears, moments of solitude that forced you to grow, and a relentless commitment to your own healing. Those parts you keep silent about are exactly what make you magnetic, but also unreachable. You're a puzzle they can't solve, and that frustration is addictive. It's like watching someone dance in a rhythm you don't understand, trying to learn steps that aren't taught. They hunger for answers but get nothing but your quiet strength. You don't offer explanations or apologies, you simply are. That presence disrupts their assumptions and unsettles their need for control. They aren't obsessed with you per se. They're addicted to the mystery of how you can exist so fully, so unapologetically without breaking. And until they realize that your power isn't a secret to steal but a journey to embrace, they'll keep circling, watching and wondering. You're not a puzzle to be solved. You're a force to be respected. Number 14. You are the proof that spiritual wealth can't be fabricated. In a world obsessed with surface-level success, your kind of wealth is invisible to most. It's not about flashing designer labels or counting followers. Your richness is something deeper. It's spiritual, authentic, and earned through real growth and hardship. It's a vibration, a presence that can't be faked or bought. This kind of wealth comes from inner alignment, from confronting darkness and choosing light, from knowing your worth without needing constant validation. That's a currency they don't understand because it can't be measured or displayed. When people see you moving through life with that kind of genuine spiritual abundance, they get confused. They expect success to look a certain way, loud, flashy, and easily quantified, but your power hums quietly beneath the surface. You're not flexing possessions, you're flexing resilience, wisdom, and peace. And that throws them off balance. They want to crack your code, to find the formula so they can replicate it for themselves. But it's not a formula, it's a journey. And it's yours alone. Because they can't decode it, they start mimicking, but it's always shallow, clumsy, and off-key. They try to imitate your calm, your confidence, even your style, but it's like copying a melody without understanding the soul behind it. Their imitations are desperate attempts to grasp something beyond their reach, and that only highlights how far they are from the real thing. Your spiritual wealth isn't just a personal victory. It's proof that true abundance can't be fabricated or faked. It's a challenge to a world that worships appearances but forgets the power of substance. And while they obsess over how you do it, you continue to vibrate higher, untouched, undeniable, and authentically wealthy in a way no one can counterfeit. In the end, the obsession others have with you isn't about you at all. It's about the uncomfortable mirror you hold up to their own insecurities, fears, and unhealed wounds. You're a living contradiction to the stories they've told themselves to feel safe, that success requires compromise, that strength means hiding vulnerability, and that freedom is an illusion. Your existence challenges all of that, and that's why they fixate on you with such intensity. It's not admiration. It's a complicated mixture of envy, fear, and a desperate longing for a truth they're not yet ready to face. But here's the most powerful truth. Their obsession doesn't diminish your light. It confirms it. It proves that you are walking a path less traveled, one forged by authenticity, courage, and an unrelenting commitment to yourself. You didn't come into this world to be a background character in someone else's narrative. You came to rewrite the rules, break molds, and show what's possible when you refuse to shrink for the comfort of others. Remember, their need to tear you down or pull you back isn't about you failing. It's about their own inability to rise. Your resilience, your peace, your unapologetic existence is a blueprint they wish they had the guts to follow. So let their noise be the soundtrack of your breakthrough, not the chains that hold you back. You are not here to please or to be liked. You are here to be, to live boldly, to embody truth, and to keep shining regardless of the chaos around you. The obsession they have is a testament to your impact. Raw, undeniable, and utterly transformative. Own it, embrace it, and keep moving forward knowing that the very things that unsettle others are the very things that make you unstoppable. In a world craving authenticity but afraid of it, you are the revolution, fierce, unshakable, and beautifully beyond their comprehension. Let them watch, let them talk, because you, the chosen one, are just getting started. If this message resonated with you, don't let it stop here. Hit that subscribe button and join a community that celebrates authenticity, courage, and unapologetic truth. Like the video if you feel the power of standing strong in your own light. Drop a comment below, share your story, your struggles, or how you've embraced being different. Your voice matters, and your experience could be the spark someone else needs right now. And if you know someone who's been fighting their own battle or feels misunderstood, share this with them. Let's spread the strength, the wisdom, and the fire that refuses to be dimmed. Together, we're more than just a channel, we're a movement. So, subscribe, engage, and be part of something extraordinary. The revolution starts with you.